If there is something that is worrying William Samoei Ruto and the entire UDA government, is the kind of massive support that Rigathi Gachagua continues to draw across the country. And there's nothing they can do about it, because in politics, you don't force. Each and every person has his moment. William Ruto had his moment in 2022. He hoodwinked the whole country. The businessmen, the mamambogas, the border group, the church, and they aligned to him. Unfortunately, their eyes have opened and they know that this was a scam. Now today, Rigathi Gachagua arrived into the country from the USA. And the government at first did not want Rigathi to hold the peaceful procession to Kamkunji. And that is why there were calls to arrest him. Now after the NIS intervention, they realized that arresting Rigathi Gachagua would be very fatal. So they decided to use the goons that had been shown very, earlier in the day. And they tried to disrupt that entourage. But something else happened, and William Ruto is just stranded on how to deal with this. Rigathi has endeared himself to the country that there were supporters who are there physically. But there are others who are unable to come to Nairobi. But in spirit and principle, they are supporting Rigathi Gachagua. In fact, I just realized that in all the areas that opposition controls now, leave alone Mount Kenya, because Mount Kenya is so obvious. In Eastern, where Kalonzo comes from, in Nyamira and Kisii, where Matiang'i comes from, in Western, where the Trans Nzoia governor, George Natembea, is shaking the ground, the people are with Rigathi Gachagua. And even those who are unable to come to Nairobi decided to do it their own way. Now, one such region is Bungoma. They decided that since we are unable to come to Nairobi, then we are also going to, it was a kind of procession or demonstration in solidarity with Rigathi Gachagua to celebrate his arrival. And I believe this is really worrying not only William Samoei Ruto, but the National Speaker, Moses Wetangula, is also a man under siege, because that is his home turf. To see your people rise up to celebrate the arrival of Rigathi Gachagua must be worrying Wetangula, because he is positioning himself to retain the kingship in Bungoma. But it seems this is going to be a mirage for him. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to watch residents of Bungoma celebrating, and you realize that there is a problem, and Wetangula is really worried. Not only that, this is going to be a double tragedy, because already there are rumors that William Ruto and the broad-based government is about to sideline Moses Wetangula. He's about to be replaced. It started by accusing Parliament of being very corrupt to the core. And so I want us to discuss this. As we watch this video, please subscribe to our channel if you're watching for the first time, and like and share videos. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what was happening in Bungoma, away from Nairobi. Now, things don't just happen. If you see people, wake up and they're celebrating the arrival of Rigathi Gachagua, the opposition is now a coalition, just like the Grand Coalition, just like the Azimio, you remember the NASA, you remember the CORD, you remember even the UDA is a conglomeration of very many parties. And so when you see the people of Western celebrating, they are doing that because they have fallen in love with Rigathi Gachagua. They are subscribing to his political ideologies. Not only that, they agree that Wetangula will no longer be the kingpin in that region. And this is all because of one person who is saying, TAWE, we are tired of the usual suspects, the old guards who have been there year after year. They are there, but Natembea complains that their being there is not the problem. The problem is that they are not productive. They practice politics that has been, dubbed, given a name in Kenya, tumbocracy. Tumbo simply means stomach. So people feel that they go there for self-aggrandizement, for to get personal fortune, rather than speaking on behalf of the larger community. They are there to fight for themselves. This is Natembea.
Funga, 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 funga. Aya, njaa! Njaa! Umaskini! Umutambo! Umaskini! Ukabila! Ukabila! Mapendeleo! Ford Kenya! Ford Kenya! Wetangula! Pilato! Wetangula!
Ladies and gentlemen, you must agree with me that this is going to be very difficult for Moses Wetangula, and it's bad news because there are rumors that Raila Odinga and William Ruto are reorganizing their team. And if you are there and they feel, especially for Ruto, they feel that you are not benefiting him with anything, then you'll be shown the door. Let me ask you, do you think Moses Wetangula is helping Ruto, politically speaking, with anything? As a speaker, he protects the interest of William Ruto, but any speaker, anyone who is placed in this, who replaces him, will still protect William Ruto. But in terms of numbers, do you think Wetangula helps William Ruto? No. And so there are higher chances that he will go. Now, I want you to imagine that in his area where he's supposed to be the boss, Natembea has infiltrated so much that Rigathi is arriving into the country and there are people who celebrate. This is going to make matters worse for him because William Ruto is going to look at him as a man who is unable to control even his backyard. And I know after Mombasa, Wetangula, in the usual norm of politicians, he might organize for some demonstration in support of Wetangula, in support of himself. This is the same thing that is happening to Kithure Kindiki, because Kithure was also appointed to try and contain Rigathi Gachagua. Instead, Rigathi has deconstructed and swallowed Kithure Kindiki. They have tried using this empowerment. It's not working. People are saying TAWE. People are saying we don't recognize you. So it's very bad, and it is bad news to Wetangula. But to Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto is now very worried because the kind of support, the kind of even the crowd that followed Rigathi Gachagua, all the way that went to meet him, to receive him, and you saw the procession all the way to Kamkunji, and that is just an organized support. They knew Rigathi was coming, and so they went there voluntarily to meet their leader. You know, if there is something that is sinking into Ruto's mind, is the fact that Mount Kenya is gone. And then it is not only Mount Kenya, the other regions that support the de facto leaders are also gone. That means if people were to go for an election today, then Western would not vote for William Ruto. And I know videos are still trickling. By the end of the day, you will realize that there are very many regions that celebrated Rigathi's return. And I don't know what to think. Do you think Wetangula still has a future in the Kenyan politics? I understand that he knows how to metamorphosize into something else in every election year, surviving, in coalitions, just like Raila does. But this time round, it seems it's going to be a very new but very bitter paradigm shift, because there's this generation that is saying we are tired of the same old story and we want new leadership. If you ask me, Western is gone and they are going to follow the TAWE movement. I don't know what to think, but that's my take.